what what Carissa was also teaching and what she was learning, whether she knew it or not, was the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell uncovered what the hero's journey is, and rather than put words in, rather than try to explain on my own, there's a wonderful video that does this for me.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock, treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school play? Baseball tryouts? Love? Watch for this formula in books, movies, and TV shows you come across. You will certainly see it again, but also be sensitive to it in your own life. Listen for your call to adventure. Accept the challenge. Conquer your fear and claim the treasure you seek. And then, do it all over again.
So as my life unfolded in my 20s, I experienced a lot of struggle and a lot of mental health struggles. And then in my 30s, I took a lot of time to step away from the business world and spent more time than I ever thought I would have the time, let alone have the desire to spend the time digging into psychology, exploring religion, and doing so in a way where I was seeking answers to fight back against this graph. God was giving me the tools and the people to show me how to fight back against this graph, which gets me back to my purpose for putting this whole presentation together of how do we turn this graph around. Hula hoops came along the way, girlfriends came along the way, religious training came along the way, the right books came along the way, but over time I've learned how we can go through this. And it takes each one of us to go through an individual journey in our lives that's spelled out in the hero's journey. So as you look at the hero's journey, you can ask yourself where you're at on your journey. You might be at different places throughout your life on this graph, on this chart. there's one thing I know for sure, is that our world is struggling with mental health right now because we're looking for a shortcut. We're looking to skip one very important step, and it's the scariest step, and it's theoretically the easiest step, but it's the hardest pragmatically to go through. And that's just looking yourself in the mirror. And I mean that metaphorically, of really searching out everything that makes us who we are, including all the bad things that happen to us, including all of our fears about the future, including all of our guilt and shame from the past, and dealing with it. I have a friend who calls it processing the goo. Everything that's happened in our past and all the things we've done that we regret, it creates psychological goo that we have to process. And the world is seeking an easy button. The world is seeking a shortcut. We're looking for answers to jump over this without going through it. And there's one truth I've learned in over a decade of suicidology research and a decade of mental health research, and it's you can't avoid this step if you want to go through the hero's journey. You absolutely have to go down all the way to the bottom, and like cleaning out a peanut butter jar, you have to scoop out every last drop out of that peanut butter jar in order to start fresh, in order to hit the reset button, and there's no shortcuts. So processing the goo, processing our psychological goo will naturally involve sharing our stories. There's ways that are better than others to do this. At the start, it's often best to do it one-on-one with others you trust. And it can be done with a professional. Now, my idea of a professional is much different than the broader world's idea of a professional. You don't have to give money to a professional to make them a professional. Some of the best professional listeners in the world today are grandparents. They're residents in nursing homes. They are 100% free to talk to, and they make delicious cookies. Religious leaders are also professionals at this. They deal with this every single day, yet more and more of the world is avoiding their services, and their services are free. Now, are people avoiding them because they're ineffective, or because we don't want to approach the inmost cave? Of course, you can see the bona fide professionals, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, the clinical social workers. They start from anywhere from $100 an hour on up. Just one appointment for grief counseling. On my end, I got an invoice in the mail for $350. I quickly realized I was in the wrong industry, trying to make money in real estate, doing manual labor for a tenth of that, but that's another issue for another day. And oftentimes you got to wait 2 to 3 weeks to set up time to talk to one of these professionals. The cost can be covered by insurance. However, I strongly suggest people to talk to these other professionals in the world, along with talking to the professionals that will take your money. Again, speaking with somebody behind closed doors is a healthy activity to do. You can do this in a group setting with possibly with people who you don't know as a helpful process. And then down the road, there's a beautiful website called The Moth. The Moth has a wonderful structure to their. It's very similar to TED in the fact that they have people on stage speaking, and they provide a platform to people to share not just ideas, but share their life stories. But The Moth has a rule that they don't allow people to share their story or share their life story unless they've found resolution, unless they have completed that hero's journey cycle, or unless they haven't unpacked a lesson that benefits the world. The Moth isn't there to allow people to just word vomit their pain like a stand-up comic joint often is. But The Moth provides a platform that also has structure to how you talk about your life, and they do a wonderful job of vetting their presenters in a way to have some sort of closure to each story of suffering.